I've waited 100 years, and I'd wait 1,000,000 more for you. Nothing prepared me for the privilege of being yours would do. If I had only felt the warmth within your touch, if I had only seen how you smile when you blush, or how you curl your lip when you concentrate enough, I would have known what I was living for all along.
Happy Monday. Hope you had an amazing weekend. Time for another work week, another 5 days of morning coffee on the Lionheart Radio channel. I'm your host, Rick Alexander, and I host all of these. If you're digging it, the best compliment you could give me is to share this show with a friend or someone that you think might get something from the message. And if you don't want to do that, if you wanted to head to iTunes and give us a 5-star review, I wouldn't be mad at it. It actually helped me out quite a bit. Also, if you're looking to work through some of the deeper issues in your own life, dive into your personality, dive into your coping mechanisms, figure out your shadows, and actually grapple with the things that you don't understand about yourself, then I've started a course called the Clarity Academy, and we're running the third iteration of that. It's over half sold out. If you're interested in jumping into that, the next one starts on July 22nd. So hit me up and we can talk about whether or not that would be a good thing for you to do or not. Today I want to talk about silence, which feels like an ironic thing to say. But the thing that I've kind of come to understand when it comes to describing the depth in life, that silence is actually far more powerful than words ever could be. And the reason is because the way that your awareness works. And so we're going to talk about that for a quick second. And some of the future episodes are actually going to grapple with some of the ideas of awareness and consciousness. And I'm going to start kind of diving into that realm as I've kind of gotten my mind around it. And so this will actually be a really good episode just for building on future episodes as well. But what you need to understand about you, about your consciousness, is that it's very finite. There are walls. You don't know all things, right? You can't know all things, because if you did know all things, there would only be a state of being. You wouldn't actually engage with reality. So your consciousness, like Alan Watts said, actually leaves out far more than it lets in. And so that's the way that your awareness works. That's the nature of your awareness. It grabs onto something, and in doing so, it simultaneously leaves everything it hasn't grabbed onto out. So what makes silence so profoundly powerful in your life is that it doesn't necessarily give awareness something to grab onto. And so what your awareness will do, if it's not distracted, is it's going to find its way to what's wrong in your life, and you're going to meet resistance. And often in that time is when you're going to find yourself doing like mindless, stupid shit because you want to distract yourself from some of the deeper problems. That's why I said silence speaks so much volume about the depth in life, because your problems are deeper than the surface. If you scroll your entire day away on Instagram, it allows you to avoid the problems that are below the surface. So a lot of times if you find yourself in silence, your awareness isn't attached to anything. Your psyche is going to look for something to attach that awareness to, and that's why pacifiers are so prevalent in our society. And when I say pacifiers, I'm meaning like Instagram, I'm meaning like porn, I'm meaning like alcohol, I'm meaning like drugs. I'm meaning like anything that you do to pacify yourself from the moment because you don't want to deal with what's below the depth in your life. And so people that become fidgety in moments of silence are that way because they haven't faced or addressed whatever's currently sitting below the surface of their lives. And so if you're with somebody else and you can't sit in silence with that person, almost 9 times out of 10, there's some sort of unspoken thing that's going on between you two that you haven't addressed. You can't be comfortable in your own skin. You can't sit there. Your awareness can't handle having nothing to be attached to because it's instantly going to go to what's wrong. And so it's going to want to prompt you to look for pacifiers or to talk or to just speak or to just break the silence in some way. That's also why we have so much trouble with meditation, because our awareness wants to be attached to something. And so a lot of times with meditation, what we do is we just attach it to the idea of being calm, and we distract it with being calm. And that's also why it's so important that you actually have some kind of practice like meditation that allows you to sit in silence, because you want to face the things that are wrong. You don't want to pacify yourself against them, because then you don't actually get to improve your life. Since I've been working in the personal development space, one of the things that I've come to find is that we all kind of walk around with things not quite right in our life and we don't address them. And then we don't address them, but then we pacify ourselves with other things like Instagram or porn or drugs or alcohol or whatever. And in those moments, we're content, but we still have that voice of quiet desperation that I've talked about on past episodes that say, like, man, I need to be somewhere else or doing something else. I need to be with someone else. My happiness will be at the next thing. No. Your happiness is right here waiting for you to recognize it, but you've got to deal with all of the little things in your life that are sort of out of alignment, that are sitting below the surface, the things that only silence will key in on. You know, as a human, you're taking in 11,000 sensory inputs every second. I learned that when I was writing my new book, and it really just it just blew my mind. Because what that means is that literally so much of what you're actually taking in is unconscious to you. But if you're always taking these in, and you're always processing new information, you don't actually gain the ability to grapple with what is. I remember when I was getting out of the military and I was trying to make this really big decision about whether to go on my own and do the podcast and write and coach, or whether I should take this State Department job and go sort of do what I was doing in the military, but for more money as a civilian. And I was so caught up in the indecision and I couldn't figure out what I wanted. It was only until I actually leaned into the silence and went off the grid for 3 days to figure out what I really wanted. And in that moment, as my awareness had nothing to attach to, it started going into all of these problems, and I was able to ask myself very serious questions. It's amazing the clarity you get when you're no longer processing inputs of information. And you know that's true because when you're driving and you're lost, you always turn the radio down to look where you're going. Why is that? Because your sensory processing power is very finite. It's not this, you don't get the ability to see, look, feel, touch, all these different things all at the same time and be able to know what they all mean. And so if you're having some resistance in your life, if you're having some trouble and you can't identify where it is, just sit in silence for 5 minutes on the edge of your bed and just ask yourself, what's going wrong? What am I doing that's contributing to the downfall in my life? Where am I half-assing things where I know I could whole-ass and put more effort? Where could I be better? Silence will always give you that answer. And that's so much more powerful than words ever will be. It's ironic that I'm talking about the power of silence, but either way, I really do hope that you lean into that moment and you figure that out for yourself, because it will change your life if you start grappling with the little tiny areas of resistance in your life that are out of alignment with what you really want. Silence will always immediately dive inward, and because you haven't dealt with what's wrong, you don't know how to sit with it. If you don't know how to sit in your own silence or silence with someone else, it's because that silence immediately causes your awareness to dive inward and deal with what's wrong, or at least notice what's wrong. And if you haven't dealt with it, you're going to be fidgety and you're not going to know how to engage with it. Deal with those things so you can finally sit in peace. Have an amazing Monday. We'll talk tomorrow on Morning Coffee.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp. I turned my collar to the cold and damp, when my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night into touch the sound of silence. And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more. People talking without speaking. People hearing without listening. People writing songs that voices never share. And no one dared disturb the sound of silence.